TypeScript Chat application. We will be building today a TypeScript Chat application, creating a simple one-to-one chat application. And some of the tools that we're going to be using are Yarn, Node, and a code editor of our choice, your favorite code editor. All right, we're going to start off with doing the checklist here. We need to download the Getting Started folder from the JS Chat repository. All right, I've got my zip file downloaded. I'm going to be extracting the files. All right, we did the extraction. All right, I've downloaded and unpacked the archive file. Now I'll be opening a terminal window and running Yarn, which will install all the dependencies. First, I'm going to start screen session. All right, we are there. Run Yarn. Here we go. It's doing a lot of dependency installation. It is taking a while, just in case, if you're curious. Give it a little bit of time here. All right, we've got the installation complete. It says about 200 seconds there. It's done. All right, now we're going to change to the lib directory, and then we're going to build the package, probably convert some of the TypeScript files over to something more interesting. Let's see what it does here. It's going to build. I knew it. Okay, so it's going to turn it into JavaScript files. All these TS files will be converted into a nicely packaged set of JavaScript files. All right, we've built our lib. Now we're going to follow the instructions in changing directories to the get started samples directory. Let's see here. Quick click the buttons. All right, we are now in the get started example directory. All right, now we need to create our configuration file and the environmental variables here. Let me double check here. So there is a file that you see here. So we see an env.example. What we want to do is we need to populate that with the correct key configuration settings, which we can get by following instructions earlier here on this page. We're going to scroll up and there was information around here somewhere about key setup. And then we click on these links here. This is the one that we want to click on. We click on this and it will take us to a login screen. All right, I've got my account ready to go and we need to turn on some things. I'm just going to click on the on button for everything. It says enable. I'll say enable, select a region. Click the region that's closest to you where you are located. I'm going to click this one, and then we want to, might as well click all these buttons here. Basically, we want to turn on all the things, almost all the things. Let's see here. What else is there? Leave that for now. Let's turn on persistence and keep that on. Might as well turn on file sharing. All right, we've enabled all the things. We'll click the save button here, and then our key was updated with all the settings that we need for our chat application and our TypeScript. All right, what we want to do is copy and paste our API keys here into our env file here. Let's give it a let's see, env to our .env. There we go. Get rid of the example at the end because we don't need that. So .env. Oops, nope, not that. There we go. Our publish key and our subscribe key. Let's copy this really quick over here. All right, and we saved that data there, so we can just double check that our env file is populated with the API key. Yes, it is. It looks like we're good to go. We can see here that the API keys are referenced in our code here and mentioned in our env files. So these are the variables when we import those API keys into our application. All right, now we're going to run the yarn dev command. Let's see what it does. Let's check out, see. Here we go. All right, it gives us instructions on how we can test our application. Let's give this a chance. Open link. It popped up the link. Here we go. Let's zoom in a little bit so we can see our screen. All right, let's test it out. Let's see if the chat app actually works. Hello, test. I think it, apparently my name is Mary Watson. It did mention that my user data would be randomly generated. This is important for data simulation. When you're creating an MVP, you need to make sure that the data can be tested randomly. It's a good way to start the application test. All right, and if I open up a secondary tab here just to check to make sure that the data is communicating across different machines, I can say, hello, hi, I am Mary Watson. Boom. And you can see the data is transmitted, the two systems in this case. All right, let's walk through some of the code here to see how this is built and what's happening under the hood. The sample app is using an SDK in the application code space, and you can see here that we initialized the SDK using the variables from our env file to supply the API keys. We also have a user ID that is randomized based on a data set, probably from a dictionary that we'll see later on here with a bunch of user user data. Let's see here, find that. Here we go. So we get some user data, randomized data here from our user data dictionary. And that is going to be located up here. And it looks like it's pre-populated with some sample data. Now, normally you'd want to pull this data from your user database, wherever your user database is located. This could be in a Postgres server, MySQL server, typically. Also, we have an option called app context, which is the ability to store user data that is the name, their email, and other important credentials. Now, here's another important concept is the idea of a channel. And the channel is essentially a chat room, or the data that's going to be exchanged between one or two users or a whole group of users. In this case, we are showing an example of a direct message, a DM scenario, where we've got users communicating to each other directly rather than in a group setting. It's more of a one-on-one kind of conversation. As you can see here, the channel data is passed into the create direct conversation function in our chat SDK, which will pass back to me a channel pointer. Interlocator, what is this about? What's going on here? Okay, it's a interlocutor. I did a Google to see what that meant, and that meant the other party you're communicating with. So you've got your current user, which is right here. This is your user, who you presently are, and the data that's associated with that. And that's the first user in a randomized user data. And then the second user is the second party that you're communicating with, and then we grab that information from this set of details. So either we get the user. If the user doesn't exist in this case, we're going to create a new one based on the data that we have from the random user's data. And then we scroll down here and we use that information when we're creating a channel to know the other party that we're communicating with. We want to pass that data in. Since it's a direct conversation, who are we going to communicate to? So we already know who we are because we're right there. We're in the app. We know who we are, but who's the other party we want to communicate with? That's what the interlocutor is for, the other person, the other party. And then we give it a sort of a topic or a name. So it's for example, here is a support chat communication. I need help with my printer, and my printer is broken, and I need to talk with chat support. And then in order to receive a message over the network and also display it onto the user interface, we use the useEffect React function here, which will allow us to mutate the state. We need to be connected to the data layer, and through our channel, we need to receive the message, and then we need to set our messages into the state mutation, which then allows us to update the UI as well during those change events when data comes through. All right, so as you can see, we just went over some code that allows us to receive messages on the screen, which will populate here in the chat history. Now we need to understand the part where we type data and then we send a message back into the direct message. This area here needs additional code. So we have a handle send function, which is a React event. We do some data validation, make sure that there's actually text and we are subscribed to the channel. And then we broadcast the data from the UI element in the text field, and then we reset the data, and that sends the message over the network to the other party. There's more cool bits and tidbits here. As you can see here, there's a nice to have time utility, which automatically adds some time to the message here, so you can see when the data arrives, and that makes it really simple to record that in the chat history. And then we can go further. Look, we've got some CSS styles, which allows us to, there's a lot of styles in here. We can manipulate those to our desire, so we can get the exact look and feel that we desire with our application. We can match our brand colors. We can change some of the layout and some of the flow and really make it our own from here. We did it! We built a fully featured chat app using TypeScript. Check it out. There's more, right? We might want some message reaction, some typing indicators, some of those other common features that we like and we know within a chat ecosystem.